Welcome to Backseat Confessions Podcast. Slide into the backseat as we listen to mostly anonymous strangers tell us stories from their lives. I'm a rideshare driver in Atlanta, and the people getting in my car have absolutely no idea I'm going to ask them to share. My commitment to you is to tell at least a snippet of virtually every story recorded in my car in the order they were told to me. My hope is that you laugh, cringe, cry, but mostly connect to these amazing people. You may find a piece of your own story or just feel more connected to the rest of us. Join us, won't you? So, hey, my new friend. This is an adult podcast. Themes and languages are definitely not suitable for everyone. Listener discretion is advised. Hey there, you little adventurer, you. How's your trip through space and time going today? Well, however you are faring, I hope you feel connection, surprise, and maybe even a little inspiration from our contributors today. So buckle up as we go for yet another joyride through the ATL, baby. Our first writer today begins a story of how she is trying to deal with a romantic relationship that broke up. As we continue, though, we end up in some deeply painful waters.
Story number 111. January 28, 2021, 7:05 p.m.
My story would be about a misconnection with a stranger.
Oh, I like it.
Okay. So he was my boyfriend. We dated for about 8 months. It was not really a long time, but I fell madly in love with him in that 8 months of time. Had the best time of my life with him.
Wow.
He encouraged me to break away from a toxic stage in my life that I was dealing with for years as a young girl and growing up into my adult lifehood or whatever.
Yeah.
And he basically was there for me or whatever, and encouraged me to do great things with my life, and was just all about positivity, and he didn't want anything bad to happen to me, danger or anything like that to come my way. But we just didn't work out because his financial issues weren't where he wanted to be, so he couldn't provide for me. It wasn't a thing where I couldn't save it or whatever, because he's a man or whatever. He has to figure out his own stuff.
Right.
Can't stick with him to make him figure it out. So we both had to walk away from each other.
Wow.
And that's a misconnection, because I felt deeply connected to him, and I personally don't think that we would reunite or anything like that, because I'm trying to move away from Georgia. So he probably
You said you're trying to move away from Georgia.
Yeah, I am trying to move away from Georgia.
Wow. Okay.
Big time. So
wow. Okay.
Trying to move to Florida, actually. So,
yeah. Okay. Very good.
Beach vibes.
Beach vibes. All right. Love it. Yeah. I escaped Florida myself, but
wow.
I
wouldn't do that. I would stay in Florida.
Well, and I will say, if you're going to live in Florida, live by the beach. I didn't live by the beach.
That's that, either that or Cali. But
oh, I love Cali. Oh my goodness. Yeah. No, and if you find the right beach in Florida, it can absolutely be amazing too.
Yeah,
so,
I like Panama Beach. It's kind of nice.
That's a very chill area. Yeah, that's yeah, I can see that. So I have a question about you, if you don't mind. Tell me a little bit about the toxic time in your life that this guy that it sounds like was like meant to be in your life for that period of time. What was he helping sort of guide you out of or encourage you out of?
Well, I was being sexually assaulted by my mom's boyfriend.
Oh my God, I'm
and
so sorry.
it was happening for like years before I even told her, anybody. And well, I told a couple of people, but I guess I wasn't telling the right people during the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I told her when I was like 17, but she didn't do anything about she broke up with the man, but went back to him like days later.
Oh my God.
So it was just like a heartbreaking moment for me personally, like not knowing that I don't have my mom like by my side to protect me and stuff like that.
Yeah, because you're like your mother of all people should keep you safe.
But then again, I told her years later, so I mean it kind of was hard for her too, I guess. But then I like was still staying there and also trying to like not thinking about myself mostly. I have younger siblings. I'm the oldest, so I was kind of just like thinking about them. And that's why I like stayed there. I'm just like I'm gonna like get away from this. And that's when I met my ex, and he like was just like, this is not good, like you need to get away from this, and it's toxic, and like he wanted better for me and stuff. So I moved out here.
I'm so grateful you got out of that horrible situation.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's
it took a lot because she didn't want me to tell anyone on our side of the family. She didn't want me to tell anyone. She wanted me to keep it a secret, and I did for some years before I finally told my cousins, and word got out like right when I told her. So everyone knows the truth.
Well, good, because that'll hopefully help protect other young women against
definitely.
Them. And then was any legal actions ever taken?
I tried to go to the police, but they didn't do much. They just said that they needed like more details and stuff like that. So that just like shows how the justice system is when it comes to trying to get protection and stuff like that.
I'm not a fan of the justice system, so you don't have to tell
definitely.
me twice. And then I guess maybe one other question is you said that your boyfriend, like for basically the big reason you split was he felt like because he couldn't provide for you, he
just had problems. He just kept saying like he's so tired all the time, and like he was still staying with his parents. He's older than me, and I guess he just didn't feel like I'm going with that. I mean, it could be anything else.
Sure.
It could be
that's just what he told you.
Like he's tired, we can't be together, and it was like really sad for the both of us. Like I know he didn't want that, but he like kept saying that we just can't be together, and I'm just like, why not? Like, what is the problem?
Right. Yeah. Okay. So. Well, I will say this: some relationships are meant to go a really long time, and I think other people come into your life and they bring something for just a little bit of time, and it sounds like for that 8 months, I love that you said that it was just like it was the best 8 months of your life, and so that's
yes, it was.
That's a beautiful thing. Even like you said, if you never reconnect with him or whatever again, like that was what that was meant to be. So
I mean, it still hurts me to this day. It's been like 4 months, but still, I'm just like, wow, my heart is broken because like the person that I really truly did want to be with is like no longer in my life right now. So I just don't personally know how to deal with that.
I understand.
Type of breakup.
Well, you're very young. You're really smart. We were talking before the podcast just about like everything you're doing right now, work wise. And I love you have a dream for where you want to move to. Yes. And you're a really amazing young lady. And
thank you.
Yeah, you are going to be okay.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing your story,
No problem. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. Her story reminds me that there are people walking around that carry hurt and abuse at a level I can hardly imagine or comprehend. It also strikes me that part of her attachment to the guy is probably trauma bonding. It sounds like he was the first person that really told her to get out of the abusive house and start to remake her life. And I can see why that would attach her so deeply to this guy. My fond hope for her, though, is that she continues to heal and find her way. She is an amazing young lady. Our next writer shares how she is both figuratively and literally on an adventure. She had recently left a large, well-known brand to follow her dreams and her nose.
Story number 112. Thursday, January 28, 2021, 11:47 p.m.
So my story is that during the pandemic, I decided to turn my hobby into a business, which is a candle business.
Okay.
And on Instagram, it's Ocean Drops Co.
Oh.
And I decided that during the pandemic, I had a lot of stress from school, going into med school, to deciding what I want to do in life.
Yeah.
And I decided to help with what I want to do in life. And my hobby is to just make this business, but also to go on to this road trip. So I made a road trip where I'm actually about to hit 4 weeks this weekend.
Nice.
And I went throughout the whole entire East Coast, and I would stay in every city for, depending on from 2 nights to actually a week.
Wow.
And I would literally go between all these cities all around and meet up with friends or just random people and ask what are the hidden spots that they would like to go to all the time. And in the meantime, I would be like, okay, what's a scent that reminds you of this memory? And I've actually decided to come up with those scents and put it into my candles. So I would go from candles to wax melts to car scents and just sell it. And I've actually been doing it this whole entire road trip, which is 4 weeks long. So it's been pretty much an adventure, and I love it because I hear everyone's stories and how they can relate a memory to a scent, which is exactly what I do.
Wow, that is incredible. So you're simultaneously going on this adventure, but then also creating a business.
Yes.
And trying to almost mark the places of this adventure with the smells that you're creating, the scents that you're creating.
Exactly. So I always associate a scent to a memory.
Yeah.
And I figured, some people are like that. Mm-hmm. So I would do the same exact thing. So I would ask them, what does this city or what does this memory make you of? So say you're from Atlanta, but you're from North Carolina. What scent does that make you remind you of? And I would literally incorporate that into a scent. And I'll say, if you're from North Carolina, this is the scent you would like. So I'm coming up with that at this moment throughout this whole entire road trip.
That's incredible. So what's the marketing plan? I mean, are you right now? It sounds like you're very niche, selling to individuals, or are you trying to mass market to people?
Slowly from individual to mass market.
Okay.
As soon as I get back home into South Florida, I will be mass marketing big time, nonstop. So I've made friends along the way.
Yeah.
And I cannot wait until I see what they think about my candles along the way.
So, and then I got to know, what inspired you to quit your job and take this leap of faith into starting your own business?
Just the fact that I wanted to feel free, and I feel like during the whole entire COVID pandemic, this whole entire time, it's been nothing according to plan.
Yeah.
And I feel like this road trip needed to be nothing according to plan. I wanted to just go freely and figure out my life throughout the whole entire road trip. Meanwhile, I'm trying to figure out other people's lives and how I can basically connected to my candles at the same time, because sometimes some people think, oh, this scent reminds me of this. Okay, perfect. I have a candle for that.
Wow. That's so cool. I love it. Well, I wish you nothing but all the success in the world with your journey and your business. And I love that your adventure and your business are all kind of the same thing. And I hope that somebody else is inspired that hears this and goes, you know what? I'm going to leave this job and go chase my passion. How cool is that?
It's pretty awesome, especially as you're on a road trip. I have literally like car scents that you can take it from like say like North Carolina to New York or something. You will literally not get homesick because of the scent that you smell.
Wow.
Because it reminds you of like say the beach or like
Yeah.
anything.
That's so cool.
It's pretty cool.
I love it. I love it. Thank you so much for sharing.
No problem.
Super inspiring stuff right there. God dang, I just love the very idea of literally everything she's doing. In the putting together of this episode, I did try to go to what I think she said her Instagram page is, and I couldn't find it. So, if the young lady who is in my car, or someone who knows her, would like to reach out and share her info if she's still selling candles, I'd love to throw that in the show notes so people can find and purchase from her if they'd like to. This next ride may be the most meta ride and story that I've had with this project. I won't give too much away, but I'm always a little jealous of when a young person knows with such conviction and passion what they want to do with their life.
Story number 113. Thursday, January 28, 2021, 11:55 p.m.
It's very interesting. I hope that one day I can look back on this.
Yes.
This very moment, I hope I can look back on it.
Okay.
And it's going to be very, is that good, the audio?
The audio is perfect. I got
All
you.
right, good. I hope that one day I can look back on it and it's going to be a very, like, pinnacle moment in what goes on right after.
Okay.
The name is Ashton because essentially I want to be the greatest storyteller of all time.
Wow.
Through professional wrestling. Yeah.
Really?
I want to be, at first growing up, I would always say that I just want to be the best wrestler.
Yeah.
I want to be a wrestler. I want to be a pro wrestler, all this stuff. But over time, I just learned that I like telling stories.
Yes.
I like evoking like emotion.
Yes.
I like when people laugh,
Yeah.
smile, cry. Like I want people to hate me, love me. I want all that.
Wow.
And it's just because some like pro wrestling is very it's very universal.
Mm-hmm.
It's very universal. Like I used to watch wrestling with my dad, and it's something that professional wrestling in America,
Yeah.
you don't really have to know the language
Right.
to understand what's going on.
Yeah.
A story is a story no matter what language you're speaking.
Yeah.
It's almost like mathematics. It's
That's
universal.
That's interesting. Yeah.
A story is a story.
Yep.
You know who's just looking at what's going on.
Yep.
You know who's the underdog. You know
Yeah.
what's going on.
Yeah.
And just my dad, who's very traditional, who's very, he's from Central America,
Yes, sir.
born in El Salvador. And just, what do you call it? Him not really knowing English and just not knowing the culture like that. Now he's more used to it. But, what do you call it? Just having pro wrestling and not knowing the language and showing me very young and just getting used to that storyline and getting used to who's the underdog, not knowing any English
Yeah.
and impacting him that much.
Wow.
I feel like, and it feels weird
Yeah.
because like it's never been a thing where it's like you're depressed or you're depressed or sad and pro wrestling made you do this. It's just the emotion that pro wrestling gave my dad in a way. I feel like I don't know. I feel like a part of me, a small part of me feels like I owe wrestling everything
Wow.
just because of my dad.
So, and I'm trying to wrap my mind around what you're saying. So, you feel like your dad came to this country, didn't know the culture, didn't know the language, and this thing that is so very American, which is pro wrestling, he was able to tap into it and connect to it and help make him feel like at home, or like what did it do for your dad that you're now feeling like, hey, I got to give back? Because you're almost making it sound like it saved him in a way.
It saved him. I wouldn't say my dad did anything wrong. No. But I would say more. It created a bond.
Yeah, between you and him.
Yeah, that probably would not have been there.
Okay, so what it did was it brought you and your dad together.
Essentially,
yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, that's beautiful, dude.
Yeah, it brought my dad and everybody together, and
wow,
I just feel like I want to show everybody that same emotion, and
yeah,
I feel like it's so weird. For some reason, I feel like I have that same attachment to wrestling that I never want to let it go.
Wow.
And so I want like fathers and kids to feel the exact mothers and sons, grandmothers and sons, daughters to feel the exact same way that every Monday night or every Friday night, every pay-per-view Sunday, we knew exactly where we were supposed to be in the house at the exact time.
Wow.
Because the ending of a story, of a big story, was going to come to an end, and we were all excited about it. And so just to show that emotion and to be able to tell stories like that, I think it'll be the greatest privilege in my life to be able to do something like that.
Wow. Well, number one, I want to learn to become a great storyteller, so you've really struck a chord with me. Number two, I've always kind of laughed at, never quite understood, like I have a friend whose name is Josh, who is passionate about the WWE and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And I just could never understand what he loved about it so much. And he would try to tell me some of the same things, but when you described it, something clicked. I think I'm closer to understanding what's so powerful about it and why people love it so much. So
yeah, because it's
huge.
Like it's kind of like the human connection kind of thing.
Yeah.
Where it's like it's no race.
Yeah.
It's no color. We all bleed the same blood.
Yeah.
Like there's different kinds of styles. There's lucha libre. There's Japanese wrestling. There's American wrestling. There's amateur wrestling. There's Greco. There's catch.
Yeah.
But somehow, some way, a guy from Seattle, Washington, is fighting and connecting and flowing in the same flow as somebody from Tokyo, Japan, who they do not speak the same language.
Yeah.
They do not know anything about each other, or they might have perceived about each other's cultures.
Yeah.
But somehow, some way, they tell stories.
Wow.
Like no one can. And it's something unbelievable.
Wow.
That when the first time I ever saw wrestling and I understood why people were doing the things they were, I just realized I just love stories.
Yeah.
And to be able to tell stories. And it's not even, I want to do it through pro wrestling, which is a very big platform.
Okay.
But just to show people that you can tell stories, like right now, you and me, right now in this car, are telling a story.
Yeah, for sure.
Which might one day, like I said earlier, one day be the pinnacle of something that touches a kid's heart or whatever, and that begins a new story for somebody else based on what I just said and what I do in the future.
Yeah.
So maybe this is a hidden gem in something that is going to be very major in the future.
Dude, that'd be so cool. Yeah, that'd be amazing if you hit it, and then you look back one day, you're like, I was telling this crazy Uber driver.
Yeah.
Dude, thank you so much for sharing your heart. And Ashton, I wish you literally nothing but the best, and may all your dreams come true, because I feel like some people want success just for the girls and the cars or whatever it is, and I feel like you have such a pure motive in wanting to bring people and families together through the power of storytelling, and man, I can't applaud that enough. That's incredible.
Thank you.
Yeah, man. Thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you so much.
Pretty freaking meta, right? He wanted to mark the moment with the story of why he wants to tell stories, and he decides to do that on my journey of learning to tell stories. That, my friends, is some pretty dope symbiosis right there. So, if you're a regular listener to the show, you know that the paranormal is definitely a reoccurring theme that just comes up. This next young lady talks about her encounters and does it delightfully.
Story number 114. Friday, January 29th, 2021, 10:25 p.m.
So back home, I was like 13, 14. No, that's a lie. I was 15 years old.
Okay.
And we were about to have a beach trip. So when we have a beach trip in our community, we get a big school bus and we get all the liquor, all the food and stuff. Yeah. And me, mind you this, I am not a cook at that time. Yeah. Living with my father, and I was at my mom at the time. Okay. But when I was living with my dad, I had nothing but servants and people to cook for me.
Oh yeah.
So
and for the people who don't know, where are you from?
I am from Jamaica.
Jamaica,
the land that we all love.
That is true. I can't do the accent, but I tried. Okay, sorry.
All right. So, So when I'm at my dad, I don't really get to do nothing. I don't really do nothing but school and home.
Okay.
All right. So when I went to my mom, I'm like, hey, I asked my brothers. I have 5 brothers, to be exact. My mom has 7 of us.
Wow.
I asked one of my brothers. I said, hey, can you fry some chicken for me? They said, no. I had to learn how to do it myself. I said, okay, no problem. I seasoned up my chicken and everything. And as soon as I put the first chicken in the pot, my grandfather appeared. So here's the thing. My grandfather is dead.
Oh, that's a twist to the story. So he didn't just walk out of the bedroom.
No.
So when you mean he appeared, in detail, what do you mean by that?
As in, he came around into the kitchen. He had on nothing but a shorts and a rag over his shoulder, his right shoulder. No shirt.
And you could see him.
That's exactly how I saw him.
But you saw him as clearly as you're seeing me, or did you see him as sort of like an image that you could sort of see through?
Clearly as I can see you.
Wow.
When I tell you I took off out of that kitchen.
How long has he been dead for?
He was dead for about 7 months.
Okay, so this was semi-recently that he had passed, and then he shows up in the kitchen while you're going to go kitchen.
He shows up out of the kitchen.
And then what was your relationship like with him? Was it a good one, an okay one, a bad one? Like what?
So here's the thing with my grandfather. It was a good one.
Okay.
But also a bad one.
Okay.
He never used to like noise. And if we are all in the house and we start yelling and start, playing, he would come out with like a little hose. And I'm talking like the water hose, the rubber ones.
Oh, they hurt.
He cut those and had them. So he would run after us.
Wow.
And it doesn't matter how far you go, he will follow.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
He's got to get you.
He's going to get you. Okay. Mm-hmm. So some good and some bad. All right.
Some good and some bad.
Now we're back in this kitchen and you're running for your life.
I am running for my life. I was scared. And remind you, I left the chicken on the stove. I ran and went into my mom's room and I woke my mom up. I said, Mommy, guess what? She's like, what? I said, Grandpa is in the kitchen. She's like, little girl, Grandpa is dead. I said, no. He is right there.
Wow.
He is right there, Mommy. She got up. She went and investigated. She didn't see nothing.
Right.
Just a burned chicken.
Right.
She told me to go in the kitchen and finish cooking. I told her, Mommy, I'm not going back in there. She's like, you're going back in there. I was like, okay. I went back in there and fried my chicken and I put it up. Mind you this is not where I live. I'm just going by my mom for the, weekend or so.
Sure.
Okay, so I'm sleeping in the couch and all of a sudden the light was on. Yes. I leave the light on.
Yes.
It turned off. I said, hold on. I said, Mommy. She said, it's not her. I was like, okay. And I asked my brothers. Nobody answered. Okay, cool. I turned back on the light and then lay back down. I literally lay down and just stayed up. Stayed up the whole entire night until it was like 5 o'clock for the beach trip. I went into when it's 5 o'clock in the morning, when everybody was getting ready and everything, my grandfather likes to sit outside on the porch.
Yeah.
And when we were leaving, he sat on the porch waving and laughing. I was so scared out of my mind.
Yeah.
The whole time on the trip.
Wow.
I could not eat.
Wow. Wow.
I could not drink. I did not enjoy myself at all. At all. But you want to know something funny too?
Tell me something funny.
That chicken that I finished cooking, right?
Yeah.
Remember, my brother didn't want to help me season it or nothing like that.
Right.
And it's my first time cooking. So I switched the chicken. I switched my chicken with his chicken. And when he tasted, he was like, why is this so salty? Why is it so salty? No, somebody season my chicken. Somebody switch up my chicken. I said, nope, that's your chicken. Enjoy it.
Oh, that's hysterical.
Yeah.
I'm still stuck though on your grandpa. Okay, here. One of my questions for you is: were you the only one seeing your grandpa? Like your mom's not picking up on this? Nobody but you?
Nobody was picking up on it.
Wow.
And that's not the first time I've seen a ghost.
Okay.
That's my first time seeing my grandfather. The first time I ever saw a ghost though, I went to go get my hair done.
Yeah.
And I was a little kid. It was night. I got done probably 10 o'clock at night. And my mom lived right down the hill, so I was gonna walk down. And I thought I was walking. It's dark outside, and I'm like, okay, I'm walking. Then I hear my name. I turn around. I don't see nobody.
Yeah.
Kept on walking. Heard my name again. I turn around. It was this white lady. Not white lady, but she was in full white.
Okay.
She was white dress. Her hair was white. It wasn't even gray. It was white.
Wow.
And that was the people's grandma. Because I even went the next day and I asked them if they ever had anybody died.
Yeah.
And she told me, yeah, her grandma died.
Wow.
And how her grandma looked was the exact same person I saw. But when I had saw her, I ran.
Yeah.
I ran down the hill and I fell and got a little bit of bruises. But
yeah. So what do you think? Do you feel like you have a gift of some kind?
I do.
Okay.
In some ways.
Yeah.
And I think most children go through that phase.
Yes, I agree.
When we're little, we see a lot of
yes
spirits and stuff like that.
I agree with that.
And I did see a lot of them when I was a little baby. My dad told me about them because once I told my dad about my grandfather, he had told me, when I was small, like a baby, I would come out the room and I would tell him there's somebody in the room. And he also told me there's plenty of times I would tell him there's somebody sitting on the veranda. Would y'all call it a porch, I believe?
Porch, veranda, both work, yeah.
All right, so I would tell him there's people out there sitting there.
Wow.
And he always told me. I used to see things growing up.
Yeah.
But now I don't see it.
Really, except for your. But how long ago did you see your grandpa?
It's been a while. I'm like 26 now. I was like 15 when I saw him.
Okay, so it's been 9 years since you've had an experience like that.
Yeah.
Wow. Mm-hmm. What would you do if you saw something like that again?
Saw it again?
Yeah. I mean, not necessarily him, but just had another experience like that. Would that be a good thing for you, a bad thing for you? What would be your reaction?
I don't know, to be honest with you. I've come across a lot of weird stuff, especially when, I don't know, when you smoke a lot of tree.
Okay.
you come across a lot of different things, True. You know. I've been high to the point where I thought an orchid was a person.
Okay. Right. Okay.
So, you know. Yeah. It's different now, but you can't tell. To me, right now, I can't tell what's real and what's not. But what I do get nowadays is deja vus.
Okay.
So I can literally dream or think I'm dreaming that I'm in jail or I'm in Orange and a year later or a couple months later, that's me in orange.
Wow.
I've been there, done that. Because I remember specifically when I was pregnant with my daughter, I dreamt that I was in jail, on like standing up on a high railing. I mapped out everything, everything. And turns out, not even 2 months after I had my daughter, I was in jail.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. I do know a number of people that have deja vu. I've had it a couple times in my life, for sure. I think that stuff is fascinating. I don't know what your faith, what type of faith
Christian.
you have. Christian. Okay, very cool. Yeah. So I sometimes wonder if it's like God kind of just letting you know that, like, oh, yep, you're on track. This is like, this didn't catch me by surprise, or whatever it is, by giving you those little heads up of things that are going to come. So yeah, that's fascinating. And it sounds like you're a very spiritually sensitive person, obviously. So how cool is that?
I am. I'm very mellow, and I just like to go with the flow.
Yeah, you're a sweetheart. Like, yeah, totally. I can totally pick up on that. So. I really just enjoyed getting to talk with this young lady because she's just so chill and kind. But I also could have talked to her for hours because she just has stories for days. In fact, after this, we talked about her time in immigration detention. And that is a whole other world outside of her gift of seeing people that are no longer here. She said she wanted to write a book someday. And if she does, I hope I get to read it. Well, let's be honest, I don't really read, so I'd love to listen to the audio version. Our last ride for the day just goes to show you that you can be in the middle of living your life and are just following the fairly predictable arc that, is your norm. And then suddenly you're presented with a challenge that you couldn't have seen coming. You just get to decide in that moment what it is you're going to do.
Story number 115. Saturday, January 30th, 2021, 12:03 a.m.
Okay, yeah, so one time, so I used to work for this company. I had to be there from 8 to 5.
Okay.
I was a little bit hungover one day, so I woke up about 7:50, which was a bit of an issue.
Yeah.
Obviously, I was going to make it to work late,
Yeah.
Text my supervisor. I was like, I'm going to be like 20 minutes late, so sorry.
Yeah.
So, I throw all my shit on really fast.
Yep.
Run out the door.
Yeah.
And I'm leaving my apartment complex, and I get on the road, and I see, there's, no cars on the road at this point, and there is probably, a 1.5 to 2-year-old child in his diaper walking in the street alone with no supervision.
As you do.
This, little, cute boy.
Yeah.
And so I pull over, and as soon as I walk over to him, he just stops, and he holds his arms up to me, and he's like... He literally says, he cries, and he's like, Mom. Oh my God. Mommy. He cries for his mommy. And so I pick him up, I put him in my arms, and I'm like, where do you live?
Yeah.
Obviously he doesn't know, he's a child.
Right.
And so
he whips his wallet out, actually.
Yeah, right, yeah. And so my apartment, this is right outside of my apartment complex.
Yeah.
So I walk back into my complex, and I go to the closest building to the gate. I figured he couldn't have walked far.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there with this kid, I don't know anything about him, in my arms.
Right.
And the school bus comes up, and all these kids start going to the school bus, and I'm like, hey, do you know where this kid lives? Like, do you know where he belongs?
Yeah.
Does anyone know anything about this kid? Like, I got to get to work, but I want to make sure that he arrives, like,
Right.
safely where he belongs. And they're like, oh, yeah, like, I think he lives, like, over there. And the other kid's like, I think he lives over there. No one knew where this kid lived. All the stories were completely conflicting.
Yeah.
And so I'm sitting there, like 20 minutes trying to figure out where this little kid lives. And finally, I was like, well, I have to move my car.
Yeah.
So I carry him all the way back to my car.
Yeah.
Drive back inside the complex. I put him in the front seat because I don't have a car
You mean
seat.
you didn't leave
I
thinking
put him
I'm going
in
to
the-
pick up a small child on the
I
side of
didn't
the
want to
road
leave
today?
him on the road.
Yeah.
So I put him in the front seat. I buckled him up. He's like swaying around like Jello. It was the cutest thing in the world. And I park in a parking spot like over by the clubhouse.
Yeah.
And then I get back out and I keep on asking people, like anyone that drives by, like, hey,
Right.
do you know this kid?
Yeah.
Finally, after like 40 minutes of searching for this kid's parents, his like a woman comes out and she's like frantic. She's like, oh my God, thank you so much. Like, I found him. Thank you so much. And I was like, yep, I found him walking on the road. Like, what happened here? And she was like, yeah, like last week he learned how to unlock the locks on the door.
Oh my God.
And I was like, well, okay, like, how often has that happened? You know, like worried that I might have to call CPS or something.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. And she was like, oh, like, well, this is the first time that it's happened. And I'm stupid. I believed her.
Right.
So, you know, I gave the kid back to her. And yeah, she just like walked away like happy as can be. Like her kid was safe and everything. And I was like, I'm a fucking hero.
That's right.
I'm a hero. Yeah.
I'm calling the mayor and getting my plaque.
I get to work and my boss is like, you're an hour and 15 minutes late. What the fuck happened? And I was like, what? I know this sounds unbelievable, right? I found a kid, a child on the side of the road in a diaper.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh my God.
I know it sounds crazy, but I promise I'm telling you the truth.
Oh.
And so she let it slide. And then, you know,
She
of
said
course,
she did let us slide?
yeah, she let it slide. She believed me. But of course, it gets all around my office.
Yeah.
And they're all like, I heard you picked up a kid. Like, I hope you called the police. And I was like, fuck. I didn't. Like, I should have. I feel so guilty, like, to this day. Like, I hope that kid's all right. But, yep, that's the time that I found a kid on the side of the street in a diaper. Yep.
Well, and I'll tell you that, like,
experience.
it's strange, crazy experience. Can you imagine, though? I mean, I think 99% of humanity would have done the same thing you did. But can you imagine, like, God forbid, what if some freaking creep had picked a kid up?
I know.
Or even a deranged lady who's like, I can't have, whatever. Like, you
Yes.
hear the weird stories of.
Hey, Atlanta is like the human trafficking capital of the world. Last time I heard, seriously.
Yeah.
I know. I feel super guilty for not like saying.
No,
something, but
you shouldn't feel guilty.
You know what? I'm sure he's safe, and that's what I'm gonna tell myself
That's right.
in my head.
I like that story. I'm going with that one too. Yeah. No, I'm so glad you were there. Like you were like the angel that rescued this little guy.
Yeah,
man.
that's
Incredible.
Yep. Like I said, I'm a fucking hero.
You
I
are
will never
a hero.
Forget that story.
Alexis, you get a plaque from me.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for sharing your story.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity.
My pleasure. I really do think the vast majority of us would have done the same thing as this young lady, but the idea of this precious little kiddo out wandering the street in a busy city is just crazy and scary. Super, super grateful. It all seemed to have ended well, though. There is hope and mystery in many of our stories today. Even in the first story of a breakup and the trauma that was also part of her story, there is this movement towards getting into a better situation and the hope even of changing the geographic location where she lived to help in that healing journey. But I really resonated with the young lady who is actively traveling and living her dream as best as she could through creating candle scents and the young man who wanted to tell universal stories through the medium of wrestling. I know that not everyone gets to do for a living something that connects deeply to their purpose, but I do hope that we all keep striving to do the things that come from that place and sense of purpose and meaning. I'm going to leave us today with an incredible quote from Mark Twain. The two most important days in your life are the day you're born and the day you find out why. Cheers to that, my friend. This is what happens when you are a rideshare driver in Atlanta and ask people for their stories. These weren't handpicked people with great stories. They just happened to get in my car and be gracious enough to share with all of us. And who knows, maybe someday you'll be in Atlanta and need to grab a rideshare and end up telling the rest of us the next great story on BCP. I'd actually encourage you to, every so often, just ask a stranger to share a story from their life. You never know what you might learn. I believe that our stories are powerful. They can make you laugh, cringe, cry, or even get you to think or feel differently. Our stories can truly make this world a little bit better place. So please, subscribe, rate, and listen to this podcast and share it with as many adults as possible. It would mean so much to me. First and foremost, I want to thank the incredible writers who trusted me with your stories. You're my heroes. Thanks also to all the people in the background who have believed in this project/dream. All of the music on this podcast was found on Pixabay.com, and it was free, which is an amazing gift when you're starting a podcast on a shoestring budget.